Good morning. أهلا بكم في صفحتكم English Stories ومعايا ستوري النهاردة نوهنا عنها بقالها كذا يوم اللي هي سندريلا. تعالوا نسمعها مع بعض وبعد كده هنترجمها ونطلع كمان الستوري elements زي ما احنا متعودين. تعالوا نبدأ مع بعض القصة. A long time ago, there was a little girl who lived with her stepmother and her two daughters. The stepmother was a very wicked woman, and her daughters were always unkind towards the poor little girl. Now, the little girl was very pretty, unlike her stepsisters, who were clumsy and ugly. They were jealous of the little girl and made her work very hard from daybreak to late into the nights. The little girl was always washing or cooking or cleaning the chimney or fireplace. She was covered with soot, and her wicked stepmother and stepsister spitefully called her Cinderella. Days flew by, and the children grew up. Cinderella was now a pretty and graceful young maiden. Her stepsister continued to be ugly and clumsy. Though Cinderella was mistreated by her stepmother and stepsisters, she was always good-natured and worked hard to please them. One day, there was a great excitement at home. The stepsisters and stepmother were planning for a big event, but they wouldn't tell Cinderella anything. She however overheard their secret matterings. Prince Charming was throwing a party. All young maidens were invited, for he was to choose his bride that evening. For the first time, Cinderella cried and pleaded, "Mother, won't you please let me come for this party?" As expected, the reply was cruel. "You just stay at home and finish all the scrapping. The party is for young ladies, not for a dirty servant girl like you," cried and wagged stepmother. That evening they left her at home and set off for the prince's party. Poor Cinderella sobbed and thought that her little heart would break. Suddenly, the country yard was filled with a bright light, and a gentle voice called her by name. Looking up, Cinderella was a radiant woman smiling at her. "I am your fairy godmother. I have come to reward your good heart. Make any wish and I will fulfill it," said the fairy godmother. "Can I please go to the prince's party?" asked the poor Cinderella treatfully. "Your wish is granted, but you must come home before midnight, or else the spell will break and you will become your old self." Having said this, the fairy godmother pointed her wand at Cinderella. Lo and behold, her rags were replaced by a dazzling new dress, prettier than those worn by any princess. She now wore a beautiful pair of sparkling shoes, and a pumpkin in the country yard changed into a shining coach, and two little mice scrambling by turning into two beautiful horses. The coach took her to the prince's palace in the moment. All eyes were glued on Cinderella from the moment she entered the palace. They all thought that she was princess from some faraway land. Even her stepmother and stepsister couldn't recognize her. As for the prince, he wouldn't dance with any other girl but Cinderella. They danced through the evening, and suddenly Cinderella caught a glimpse of the clock in the hall. It was just moments away from midnight. Tearing herself away from the hands of unwilling prince, she ran down the steps into the waiting coach, but in her hurry she left the sparkling shoes behind. The coach got her at home a stroke of midnight, and the spell vanished. As for the prince, he was determined to marry the girl who had worn the sparkling shoe and had left it behind in such a strange hurry. The following day, the king made an announcement. The prince was to marry the maiden whose foot would fit into the sparkling shoe. The shoe was brought into every house by the king's messengers. Strangely, the shoe didn't fit any maiden. At last, they came to the house where Cinderella lived. The stepsisters were given a chance to try the shoe. Their feet were too large. When Cinderella came forward timidly, her stepmother pushed her away and rudely saying, "This is only for fine young ladies, not for a dirty servant girl like you." But the king's messenger said, "All maidens are to try." To everyone's amazement, the shoe fitted perfectly, and the moment she wore it, Cinderella was once again transformed into a beautiful princess. Cinderella and the Prince Charming were married. The whole kingdom rejoiced, and for once, Cinderella's stepmother and stepsister were also happy for her. أتمنى تكونوا استمتعتوا بالقصة. هنزل دلوقتي فيديو بالترجمة بتاعتها والكلمات الصعبة والستوري elements كمان. See you in the next story إن شاء الله.